G'day. It's the 28th of March, 2023. Thanks for joining me for another economic wrap. Today, we're just focusing on the F1. So we're going to talk about the company that owns the F1, what they've been doing, and whether or not you can actually own shares with them. Now, I'm not going to take claim to this. This is actually thanks to my friends over at Monroe Partners, who do a whole lot of assessment on different companies around the world to determine if they're a good buy or not. Now, just letting you know, it's just general information. If you want any personal advice, please go and consult your licensed financial advisor. I'm going to be talking about a company today, but just know this is not advice to go out and buy any kind of business. If you want to listen to the full episode, head on over to the Real Wealth Podcast with Stefan Angelini. You can find us on podcast, Spotify, or YouTube channel. All right, g'day. It's getting exciting. The F1 is here. I'm seeing people rock up to the track now over at Albert Park. So I'm going to talk about the company that actually owns the F1 now. So Liberty Media is listed on the NASDAQ. That's NASDAQ. And they are a public listed company. They own a few things. They own the Atlanta Braves, which is a baseball team. They own a broadcasting company over in New York. They also own the F1. So they bought the F1 off a private equity firm. So basically, they own the Formula One. The FIA administer the races, and then the teams own the teams. So Mercedes owns Mercedes. So they're all privately held. Now let's look at what they've done to actually make the sport better. So why would they buy it? So first, Drive to Survive. If you haven't seen Drive to Survive, get out and watch it. It's on Netflix and it is hugely popular amongst fans, and it's creating so many more fans and a new generation of fans. Hence probably why Melbourne sold out this year so quickly. So Drive to Survive is one initiative that pulled a lot more eyes to the sport. They've made it more competitive, so they put on spending caps like for each of the teams. So soccer, for instance, doesn't have spending caps. They can spend as much as they want. Cars and teams only have a certain amount to spend on research and development on their cars so that the sport remains more competitive. They can spend what they want on drivers, though. So that's probably one little proviso, but drivers do matter. But obviously the cars, keeping the cars sort of on par is super important too. They've implemented a profit share with the teams. So now it looks like more teams are going to come into the race because any team can be competitive, and they're actually earning a percentage of the takings from the head company and from the actual event. So they're going to get more exposure. So you might see the likes of Porsche, Audi start to push in, or even private equity firms, just to get more, exposure for their name and be competitive because they've got a cap limit. They've launched new races. So they've launched Miami last year. So they had a big man-made pool with heaps of boats in there. I'm excited to watch that this year to see what they've done. They've got races coming out in the Middle East. Now that's raised ESG concerns because they don't have the same, treatment of human capital as they do in Western countries. So that's got a few people up in arms. But most recently, they've released a race in Las Vegas based on the success of Miami. So the US now have a huge supporter base where they never did. But still, don't forget, the US don't have a team. So if the US get a team, you can imagine there'll be a lot more fans that'll jump on the bandwagon, especially as more races start to roll out in the US. So did you know that you can own part of this, or funds own part of this? The stock hasn't done too well over the last little while. But this is pretty much the only exposure you can get to owning a sport. You can own teams. So for instance, if you want to own the New York Rangers or the Bucks, I think it's the Bucks. Anyway, some of the basketball teams, you can own Madison Square Gardens. So I think it's the Rangers and the Knicks, actually. So the hockey team and the NBA team own Madison Square Gardens. If you want to own part of the EPL, you can simply buy Manchester United. They're a publicly listed company. But with Man U as a publicly listed company, and with the European Soccer League not having a spending cap, if you're looking out for investors' best interest and shareholders' best interest, then the investor cap might actually play a good part for these publicly listed companies. But so it's very different in the F1 compared to the European Soccer League. There's nowhere else you can actually own a sport. So let's look at how they actually make money. So they make money off sponsorship. So the more eyes they've got on the sport, the better they're going to be, because more people are going to want to sponsor it or be a sponsor there. So I think in Melbourne, Rolex is the head sponsor. They get paid off TV rights. So if you think in the USA, they were only getting paid $5 million for the TV rights with ESPN. Now, obviously, it's a huge surge in popularity for the sport. So you can imagine TV rights will jump there. They get paid by the country or by the state. So, for instance, the Victorian government will pay about $30 million to have the Formula One here in Victoria. Huge boost for tourism, which is fantastic for the sport. And importantly, most recently, they get paid on ticket sales, such as Las Vegas. So Las Vegas government said, we're not going to pay you to come here, but you can come here. So they're racing on the streets of Las Vegas, and they've got to stump up it all. So they are selling tickets. Now, importantly, I mean, this is where a media company should shine. They sold tickets out in 30 minutes. So they did a lot of pumping up the sport, and really it's a destination, another destination. So racing on the streets of Vegas will be hugely popular. And obviously it shows that in how quickly the tickets went. So, I just thought that was quite interesting to know, and I thought everyone might want to know. Other than that, what's happened around the world? Look, Silicon Valley Bank actually got bought, but I'll give you an update on that tomorrow. So other than that, Formula One is here. Let's get excited. I love it when Melbourne's up and shining, when you got like things like the tennis, footy, and even the F1 coming through to Victoria. That's what makes it such a great state. Anyway, thanks for listening. Appreciate it. You guys have a great day. Go Ferrari. See you soon. Bye.